welcome to the inaugural edition of the NJCAA Sports Page. I'm Robert Williamson. Every week we will take a look at the 10 games played the prior week, the 10 games coming up the next week that involve those teams who are tops in the NJCAA. A week ago, 40% of the top 10 lost, but there was only one upset. That's because one played 3, 2 played 5, and 4 played 6. All the higher-ranked teams were victorious. The only upset was when 12th-ranked Snow College upset 10th-ranked Arizona Western by a final of 24-7. A complete recap of all games involving all top 10 teams in the NJCAA. It's right after the break. Welcome back to the NJCAA Sports Page. Last week, it was number 1 ranked East Mississippi. Won the national championship a year ago by defeating Georgia Military College in Biloxi, Mississippi. They are on a roll again. Ranked number 1 in the nation, not just because they won the national championship a year ago. They're a doggone good team. 46-10 the final score as they knocked off the Copiah Lincoln Wolfpack. Wolfpack ranked number 3 for the first time, highest rating ever for the Wolves since their 75-year existence. But they came up against a Chad Kelly who passed for 221 yards and ran effectively to keep drives alive. 11 penalties on the part of the Wolfpack for 136 yards did not help matters. Chad Kelly, by the way, he's the guy that is nephew to NFL Hall of Famer Jim Kelly. So he's got some good quarterback blood in him, and he effectively got his number 1 ranked team to a 2-0 season record, winners of 14 straight and 34 of their last 36 with that win over Copiah Lincoln Community College. Number 2 ranked Iowa Western. It was a rematch of the 2012 national championship as they took on Butler Community College, ranked number 5 in the nation. It was tied up by the time you got midway through the 4th at 30 apiece. Then in overtime, a Tyus Mason 6-yard run propels Iowa Western to a 36-30 win. The difference in the ball game, quite frankly, it was the quarterback play. Stats pretty much even. Same number of turnovers, same number of penalties, just about the same amount of rushing yardage. But on that given weekend, it was Tay Bender with a better ball game than Jamarcus Smith. Bender finishing with 283 yards passing, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Meanwhile, Smith, he had 205, threw for 1 TD and 2 interceptions. Number 4 ranked Trinity Valley taking on number 6 ranked Navarro. You like points? Then you had to love this one. A total of 96 points in the ball game, 1,358 total yards of offense, 160 plays. And you had a Trinity Valley squad that scored 35 in the first stanza. It was a 66-30 final score, and if you're looking for players of a game and players in the top 10, you got to look at this ball game. The quarterback for Trinity Valley finished with 283 yards passing, and he had 6 touchdowns. Kyle Postma threw 4 times for 132 yards to Jarvis Baxter, who had 3 touchdowns. But on the Navarro side of the football, a pretty good runner as well in Keon Kenner, who rushed 34 times, 270 yards, and 3 touchdowns. By the way, of the 160 plays between the 2 teams, it was the losing team that ran the football and passed the football more often, 94 times as compared to Trinity Valley's 66. Number 7 ranked Mississippi Gulf Coast. This is an outstanding team. Knocked off Northwest by a final score of 63-7. And in that ball game, Jason Smith, who is the commit to Auburn, passed for 124 yards, 2 touchdowns, ran for 107 yards, and 4 TDs as well. 50 plays for Mississippi Gulf Coast in the victory over Northwest Mississippi, and they averaged 9 yards a play. ASA, ranked number 8 in the nation. They were a victorious team over Erie. 48-21 the final score. Joseph Williams leading the charge for ASA. He had touchdown runs of 29 and 34 yards, a long run of 57 yards. ASA's got a test this week when they take on a formerly 5th-ranked GMC squad, Georgia Military, which fell to 14 in week 2 and likely out of the polls. But Georgia Military is a team to be reckoned with the top running back in the nation in junior college football. We'll talk about that in a bit. But it was an ASA final score of 48-21 over Erie. Jones County, another one of those MAC JC squads, ranked number 9 in the nation, took on an Itawamba team which came into the preseason 19, lost to Colin, fell out of the top 20. They defeat Itawamba, does Jones County, by a final score of 35-14. Coleman with 263 yards passing. New coach, by the way, at Jones County. You might recall Ray Perkins was there previously, the former NFL coach, former coach of the Crimson Tide. He was there a year ago, resigned in December. You might be saying, okay, David Thornton, the new coach for Jones County, is working with those recruits that belong to Ray Perkins. Guess what? David Thornton, not only the offensive coordinator under Perkins, he was also the coordinator of recruiting. So responsible for a lot of the guys that he's now using that's got him into the top 10. The only upset, it was Snow College, ranked number 12 in the nation, a winner over Arizona Western. That's a game that was tied at 7 apiece going into the locker room at halftime. But in the second half, ball control, 35 minutes of possession time for Snow College. They go on to victory. Didn't turn the ball over. It wasn't one of those high-scoring games, those offensive Donnybrooks, more of a defensive struggle. It's the teams that didn't make the mistake. In this case, the team that didn't make this mistake was Snow College. No turnovers. Meanwhile, a couple of interceptions on the part of Jess Camise Stevens. And there was a lot of penalty yardage, 81 yards in penalties for Arizona Western. It led to defeat and led to victory for Snow College. What about players that are now in the NFL that began their collegiate career in the NJCAA? Well, let's talk about a guy by the name of Nicholas Leicester Fairley. Born in Mobile, Alabama, 6'4", 298-pounder, gained his renown at Auburn University, where he was the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. He was a Lombardi Trophy winner. He was the MVP defensively in the national championship game in 2011. He became a Detroit Lion, 13th pick of the draft, signed a multi-million-dollar contract, 86 tackles now as a Lion, including one in the victory over the New York Giants on Monday night. He's forced 3 fumbles as a pro, 12.5 sacks, has 1 touchdown, and he began his collegiate career at, well, I'll tell you, after the break. At the 36-yard line. Jarvis Hall,
awfully close. Kemp will wave and miss. Strikeout, getting over. The Royal team leads the man at third.
Welcome back to the very first NJCAA sports page. Here is the JockJive NJCAA sports page top 10. By the way, I told you I would answer the question in regards to what junior college that Nick Fairley played for. He started his collegiate career at one of the 2-year schools. He was redshirted, and then as a redshirt freshman, sacked 7 times the quarterback, picked up 63 tackles in 7 games of play with the Copiah Lincoln Wolfpack. Thanks so much for watching the very first edition of the NJCAA sports page. Every week we'll be back. Next week we'll recap the 10 games of this week. A week from now we'll preview the upcoming 10. Every week it's right here on JockJive.com. Quick reminder, we are in West Virginia at Morgantown for a kickoff at 1 o'clock Eastern between ASA and Georgia Military College. That's one of those key matchups and certainly will have an impact on the top 10. And don't forget JockJive.com for not only football and this show, but other sports as well. You can go to our homepage of JockJive.com to like us on Facebook, to follow us on Twitter, and to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Well, until next week's edition of the NJCAA Sports Page, I'm Robert Williamson, saying so long.